Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Monday review show brought to you by yours truly, Sky Pank. Here we are, the three top members of the franchise tag now. Can I say that? Freddie's always a big dog, isn't he? And Adam, he's not grumpy today, Adam. You're in a good mood.
Well, that go down well with the other members of the F tag, won't it? So well done. You've done well there.
It tests if they're watching. I'm no one's reckoning, but the Denver Broncos were New York Jets is reckoning. That was one of the big upsets of the week in a not so great game. And I'm probably more hungover than San Francisco 49ers. Not that they're quite in the Super Bowl hangover, but they didn't look too convincing, even though they beat my New England Patriots. And the reason I said top dogs is just because, Fred, me and you are top two now in the Run Your Pool for F Tag. I'm 11-3, and you're two behind me in second. We flipped the script.
It's the only table I am on top of, unless it was a hospital one, but was reviving my love for the sport because I had a terrible weekend of the Steelers lost in a spectacular fashion. My fantasy teams both lost again in a spectacular fashion. I'm teetering on the edge of NFL. Maybe London games will reignite my passion and love.
Yeah, well,
and if I get another bloody trade offer for Jahmyr Gibbs from Adam, I'm going to lose. It's a weekly occurrence now.
We're gonna have to do a fantasy segment on this show, just because if you keep losing, it'll be the perfect segment.
May I
haven't sent you one in at least a week.
It's about time then, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I can send. I'll send you one if you like.
No.
Well, unfortunately, yeah. So, like I said, my Patriots lost. Your Steelers obviously lost a close one, 27-24. And one of the two games that we're going to look at, we're going to do the same as last week. So, anyone who watched, we're going to do two key games. The Packers and Vikings are the first one. And Adam, yeah, I mean, Fred's team lost only by 3. You guys only lost by 2, 31-29. So, we might as well kick off and start with that. I mean, Jordan Love obviously looks good returning, but, well, I guess more towards it in the second half. He made a game of it, but coming out of it, it's weird to see you in a good mood considering you just lost to your divisional rivals. How are you feeling?
Oh, I gave up on that game very early on, so I wasn't that bothered. I'm purely in a good mood through the fact of my dynasty league, and in a matchup that I was getting hammered in, and a certain Mr. Henry came through for me quite a lot last night, which we'll talk about later. That's why I'm in a good mood.
You plugged that well.
Vikings Packers. Yeah, you can't. My main takeaway is that you probably can't let a team take a 28-point lead. It tends to get a bit difficult once you reach that point. So that was the main takeaway from it. Our edge rushers didn't really get much pressure on Sam Darnold. That was the overall problem, and the Vikings O-line was pretty good and protected him pretty well. And really, it's kind of a mixture of that and the 2 missed field goals that we had, which that's just half of the course with Green Bay. We love a kicker who loves to miss a field goal. So that's all it is, really. I think I wasn't overly upset. I thought we put on a really good comeback, but you can only get back so far. It was just too much in the end. So, yeah, I thought they did okay. I just think that you can't concede that many points that early on in a game and expect to come back. And I think losing Jair Alexander, which was a bit of a surprise, was a big issue there, because obviously that takes your next best corner onto Justin Jefferson, which then opens up Jordan Addison, as we saw with his 2 touchdowns. So yeah, I think that's probably where it all went wrong.
You mentioned about the field goals. I mean, you lost to a team who's basically history. They just bang on about missing a field goal in the 99 NFC Championship game. So you can't feel, you had to let your rivals have one. Do you know what I mean? Fred, before we move on to the Vikings, I read that no Green Bay pass catcher has had season-long target share above 20%. Jordan Love started to air the ball out to different, players. Tucker Kraft around 48 routes. Musgrave only 17 this week. Josh Jacobs, his running back share went down. I think as much as they lost this game, if they can stay healthy, it's kind of good situation that I think we see a lot of teams. It's never good that your star player gets injured, but if he can stay healthy, I think things can go on. I know Christian Watson went down, but even Adams said in the off season, if anyone was going to go down, it was going to be him.
That's no downside.
Yeah,
I can assure you.
Well, we've seen Wicks, Jaden Reed. Just talk about. I know they lost, but what's the weapons like? Yeah. Or Adam got excited because I said Wicks. He loves Wicks.
I think it was like you say, keep healthy or stay healthy or get healthy. Well, I think Jordan Love needs to get healthy first because it was very clear he is not 100%. And I think, I mean, Adam, you put it in a group chat on the night, like how well Malik Willis has been playing. Was there any need to rush him back? I don't think there was, and maybe even. I mean, he does put you in the best position to win games, and maybe that's what they thought about coming up against the Vikings team, which has been so hot to start the year and being a division rival as well. But 32-54, 389 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I mean, there's some empty calories in there for Jordan.
Crazy, yeah.
The 3 interceptions are pretty rough as well, but he did show that like this pass catching offense is really dynamic, and they have a lot of names on that side of the ball that are really capable and really talented. Yeah, it's a shame losing Watson because you've lost the name there, but like Adam said, it's not that big a shame because you got Wicks and Dobbs and Kraft and players like Reed as well, players like that that are really dynamic. Josh Jacobs for me not doing enough. We're not really seeing the Jacobs that we saw at the Raiders. He only had 9 carries, 51 yards. I mean, I think it was pretty well. When you're that far behind back at halftime, you have to go to the throwing game. Like the running game does just halt and does just stop. Again, another knife to the heart for my fantasy team. And yeah, they're a good team, this Packers team. It was a long day at the office for them. It felt at one point, and being 28-7 at half time, it looked like there was no way to get back into it. And they did do well to get back into it. Like I'm saying, with 2 field goals, that's a again a little bit of it is a negative for the Packers, but there's some really positive signs there. Love's such a capable quarterback, and this defense is pretty good as well. They came up against a Vikings team who are just seem to not be able to do anything wrong at the minute. It feels like.
Yeah, and with the Vikings, actually, probably anyone watching, they must think we hate the Vikings because obviously in our pre-season thing, we weren't like. I feel like we were probably one of the more realistic people out there with the Vikings. Like we even caveated that they could be a playoff team if they're healthy, but realistically on paper, anyone who believed that before week 1 was probably just like clickbaiting or, trying it. But now after week 1, we've sat here each week and gone, oh no, actually Sam Darnold is playing well. He's doing his thing. Like the Vikings now surely coming to London. Adam, if you're a Vikings fan, they've got Hockenson will be back at some point. Aaron Jones, is slotted in quite well. You must feel good. I'm trying to get you to talk good about your rivals, but they must be feeling good, right?
Yeah, I'd be surprised. I mean, they're 4-0. I don't think anyone was expecting it. The Sam Darnold has clearly shown that he's improved under the tutelage of Kyle Shanahan, being over in San Francisco. And now, obviously, he's with Kevin O'Connell as well, which is kind of the same tree kind of thing. So it feels very much that this is this is the right move. And I think that the question mark over the Vikings was never did they have weapons or could they defend, because even at the back end of last year defensively they looked all right under Brian Flores and stuff like that. So that all of this it was never anything else. It was very much like it's going to take time for JJ McCarthy to be okay and do well as a rookie, or can Sam Darnold actually do it, or are we just going to get the same Sam Darnold that we've had throughout his whole career? And I think that was the problem. It's that it's that same old story, isn't it? It's all well and good having everything around, but if you don't have the guy throwing the ball and being good enough, then your team just disappears. And I think that I don't think anyone was expecting this from Sam Darnold. And he's clearly shown that he has progressed and he's got better compared to what he was before when he was playing in Carolina or New York. And he just looks like it could be a purple patch. It could just be that they're on a run and everything is going right. but he does look like that he's just a lot more composed compared to what he was before. And I think that by having a coach like Kevin O'Connell there, he's going to be able to come up with play calls that is going to show him in his best light. So, yeah, I mean, if you look at it now, you really do have to feel a little bit like the sky is the limit a little bit here with what they're doing, because they're not, they're not showing signs of really anything going wrong, other than the fact that a lot of people say how good this defense is. It doesn't matter if it's at the end of a game or whatever. If you're giving up 29 points, you're not a great defense. They're good at stopping the run. They're not very good at stopping the pass. They're really struggling with that. And so I think they will, come up short because of something like that. But yeah, I mean, they really do have the potential to push on and be a playoff team here.
Sam Darnold, sorry to mention fantasy, Fred. He's the only quarterback with multiple touchdown passes in every game this year. He's been top 10. I know we obviously not here to only talk about fantasy, but he's been a top 10 fantasy quarterback in each of his last 3 games. Before we move on, I'm glad Adam mentioned Brian Flores, actually, because the run D has been good. And you've got the Mike Zimmer, when he was head coach for 7-8 years, he got a lot of credit. But look at the torrid time he's having in Dallas. I think Flores has sort of come in. What do you think is the biggest surprise? Sam Darnold and the offense clicking, say with new running back, Hawkinson injured, or the Vikings defense actually holding up enough to give their offense a chance and be 4-0?
Well, I think that's why they're in the position they're in now, is that true great teams play complementary football, don't they?
Yeah.
They're out there equal amount of time. They're getting every time their offense is out there, they're getting points. Every time the defense out there, they're getting a stop. Like Adam's very right about, they gave up all them points in the second, and that's going to be a problem. Their passing, but it is something that they can work on. If they can say their run defense is one of the best in the league, then the defensive side of the coordinators and the backroom staff can work on that, on getting that secondary better. I mean, the trade deadline still hasn't passed yet. There could be options to bring in new people in, maybe if they feel like this is a big, not the push, but if they could go, can go on a real big push this year, they might go all in on someone. They might go and trade for someone. You never know, especially if there's a cornerback out there who's on a team that you thought was going to maybe go all the way this year, and they might not. That could definitely be interesting. And what I did like, actually, when we talk about Sam Darnold on the offensive side of the ball, it's not the Justin Jefferson show. It's being really spread out, and that's Jordan Addison had a couple of touchdowns. I know Jefferson did lead in receptions, but he is putting the ball around. Jay Naylor has been really good for them as well, the third string wide receiver. And then Aaron Jones, he put 93 yards, I think, in the end in that game. Like, they have a complementary offense. They have complementary offense and defense with each other, and really, the sky is the limit for them. They will get found out. There will be a game that they'll just get bombed over the top, and it will go negatively for them. Like, it's like you were saying, Sky, about picking, the Titans every week in the pool. Like, they're gonna win a game. Like, they are gonna win a game. Like, it's the same sort of now. I think from now on with the Vikings is there's going to be. People are going to be picking the other team because they're going to, this bubble is going to burst. But the bubble burst won't be in there. It's going to happen. It's a reality check. It's then how they bounce back from that. And given how well Sam Darnold's bounced back from being rejected in New York, being rejected in Carolina, like if anyone could do it, it is probably him at this point, because he's learned a lot. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they move forward.
Yeah, I do wonder if, just before we move on, like, just to thought out loud, in a lot of these international trips, the narrative always is you're going through a tough time, like the Jags last year. I wonder how the Vikings feel leaving the US at 4-0. Like, you would feel positive, but it must be a bit weird coming to London now. And like you said, if that loss is this week to the Jets, then maybe that has ramifications going on when you go back to the US. But who knows?
If it was other than the Jags in London.
Yeah,
like part of me always just has this image of Jags always bouncing back and doing really well in London, but actually their record's not incredibly great.
No, it was only because of last year, maybe. Was it recency?
But they do seem to, like, I don't know, do that extra gear here, I suppose. And like I think completely right. Like if I'm the Vikings at the minute, I do not want to leave I don't particularly want to go away. Like I'm, enjoying this run that they're having. So if they win here, it will be, I think it will instill a bit of a, anytime, any place, we can beat anyone, anywhere, So
yeah,
that's dangerous when a team thinks that way.
Be interesting to see. But yeah, speaking of the Jags, obviously just to reel off a couple of results before we move on to the other game, we had them losing to the Texans 24-20. There was also 24-18. Bears beat the Rams. Tampa beat down the Eagles. I'm still annoyed that I didn't pick my mate Baker in that one. And then a last-minute switch on the pool from yours truly, because of Trey McBride being out, was the Cardinals losing 42-14. That was crazy. But yeah, that sets us up quite nicely onto another blowout game. Bills-Ravens was 35-10. I saw this Derrick Henry touchdown when I was feeling sorry for myself at about 1:45 or whenever it was this morning when he had that long run, and I thought, do you know what? I probably could go to bed here, because I just got the sense that the Ravens came to play. I don't know if either of you stayed up. Obviously, you've seen the highlights because we spoke about this earlier. But Adam, you and I, we got to talk about how much we loved Derrick Henry in London last year, watching the Ravens and the Titans. We were both concerned with his start, but this was a team pre-season where we were all like, if the Ravens make the Super Bowl, this is what we would expect to see. How impressed, especially to beat Buffalo, who've obviously been on a great run and were previously undefeated. How impressed were you with Baltimore?
Yeah, I was. It's a strange one, really. I wouldn't necessarily say that I was massively impressed with Baltimore.
Forget it takes a lot to impress you, damn it.
Yeah. No, I thought they did very well. They did everything that I thought they were going to do, and we spoke about when we were doing the betting show. We were speaking about how we felt that they need to get Henry more involved. And, at the beginning, Harbaugh was coming out saying, we're only going to, give him 12, 13 carries a game, and we're going to try and sort of rest him up a bit and not use him too much because we've got all these other players that we can use. And it just kind of felt a little bit like, but that's not his strength. That's not what he does. And when you think of all them years in Tennessee and what he did, and basically he would grind defenses down just over time. And I think he had 24 carries I think he had last night, and I think that tells you all you need to know really about why that happened. I will admit I was more disappointed with the defense of the Bills. I was surprised that they just kind of, to a certain degree, let it happen. It just felt like, I think they probably got caught off guard on that very first play, and then they never really got it back, and it just felt a little bit strange that was the case, because both when you look at the rushing yards and the passing yards, the Bills are a pretty all right defense. They're not the best, but they're a pretty solid defense in both metrics, and so it just felt a little bit odd that they kind of gave up so much in this particular game. And Derrick Henry just did what Derrick Henry does, and that was kind of it. It was almost like it was over before it started to a certain degree. So I think the Ravens, this is kind of what I expected them to be a bit more like. I think they're going to be in a lot of games where they're going to be leading. I think that Henry's going to get a lot of rushing because of that. And yeah, he just looked exactly the same as what you've seen in Tennessee for so many years.
Yeah. Freddie, get ready for overreaction of the week from me. You ready?
I'm ready.
Last week I'm sat here, or was it 2 when I was saying statement win, the Bills, they destroy the Jags, this is it, it's clicking. And then last night I saw, well, I don't know who we put it down to Brady or to McDermott for that play call, the trick play. And then Josh Allen tries it, Van Noy strikes his arm, it's a fumble, Kyle Hamilton's there, and I'm thinking, you've done it again. You did it with Damar Hamlin in the last playoffs on the fake punt. What are you doing? And it just all came back to me that this is just the Bills, right? Like, they're a great team. They can blow many teams out, but they just don't play smart at the right times. You're in an intimidating stadium, hostile atmosphere. you're down, and then the Ravens go 28-10 up. Like, it just felt like silly play calling at such a crucial time.
This sounds like a really silly statement, but they're not comfortable with being uncomfortable. You know what I mean? They are not. They, like I always say, that they can win any game with Josh Allen, putting the team on his back. But he did not do well with how uncomfortable the Ravens made him. They really came to play yesterday, and they really came to make him uncomfortable, and it just showed. It just showed, and unfortunately, and it's not Keon Coleman's fault, but then when you are behind and you're trying to push the ball down, Coleman's just not that experienced yet to be playing in them sort of games against this defense of Baltimore as well, which are a top defense. I mean, it's going to be back to the drawing board a little bit for the Bills with this loss. But we did say this about when Ravens were 0-2, we said, this isn't an 0-2 team. This team's going to bounce. They're still going to be looking at the playoffs. They're still going to be probably winning the division. And they can play. They knew their assignment. Their assignment was to pound the rock and make Josh Allen uncomfortable, and they did both really, really well. And it's no surprise that they got this result. It's a shame to not see Lamar throw as much, because I always go on about how I love how he's developed that aspect of his game. But he didn't need to. He didn't need to. They knew what they did. They knew what they needed to do. And Adam made that fantastic point about Henry's not he's not someone who does chunk plays every play, but he will grind it down to where you suddenly feel like every play is a chunk play. And sometimes in these games he'll go for 4 yards, 5 yards, 4 yards, 3 yards, and then suddenly he goes for 9 yards, 10 yards, 15 yards, 6. Like it will suddenly get larger and larger and larger throughout the game. And the Bills just didn't know how to deal with that. And they sort of did the exact same thing that the Steelers defense did against Colts. It just became a non-factor really quickly. And I think that, when you've got a team like the Ravens or these teams where it's sharks and they smell the blood in the water, they're just going to attack, aren't they? They're just going to completely maul you over. So, if anything, you go from statement win for the Bills to statement win for the Ravens, really, that this team's ready to contend to go to the playoffs and maybe even beyond.
Yeah, well, it sounded like they're back to being favourites again, right, Adam, for the division, the Ravens. I know obviously it's too early, but Steelers losing their first game of the season. Bengals didn't look particularly convincing, even though they beat the Panthers, and they play each other soon. I can't remember if it is either next week or the week after. We've got a Bengals-Ravens early matchup coming, so that's going to have huge ramifications already. But yeah, I mean, I think we all
they play them next. They play Bengals.
It is next week. Yeah.
Ravens' next 3 games is Bengals, Commanders, Bucks. I mean, that is actually turned into 3. Looking how the Commanders are looking, that is 3 potentially real big good games, isn't it? There, like that'll be really. I mean, the Bills then have the Texans, the Jets, and the Titans, which you could look at that and say they could win all 3 with how the Texans, Jets, and the Bills are playing. So the Bills aren't. Hopefully, you'd like to hope that they're not worrying really.
No, the Bills are probably a bit luckier in the sense of, I know the Jets are there, but obviously Miami, injuries, we're awful. But yeah, Adam, I guess with the Ravens now, even if they did lose to the Bengals, I think I would still put them as being like, well, they're probably going to go on and win the division and make the playoffs. Whereas for Cincinnati, they're probably thinking, oh, crap. They've just seen what's happened last night and they're worried. But would you say they're favourites now and you just expect them to push on from here, surely?
Yeah, I would expect them to carry on doing what they're doing. I think they've started to. I think there was a lot more passing in the first couple of games, and maybe now they're starting to see what's working, and they're going to keep going down that route. I would have them as favourites to win the division. Sure. Like you said, we had them as favourites to win the division at the beginning. The one thing I would say, I wouldn't
surely now though, Adam, with Kansas City's injuries, they've got to be favourites for the AFC now.
Yeah, I mean, you would. Well, really? I think they were anyway. I think at the beginning of the season they were.
I thought Adam did as
it was
well.
Quite close, wasn't it, between the Chiefs and Ravens? The concern, obviously, when it comes to the Chiefs, is the same old story that it doesn't matter who's out there, Mahomes will get it done, because that just seems to be how it works. So I think that's the only problem. But yeah, the Ravens are a very very strong team and should be looking to win this division and go all the way, to be honest. The one thing I would quickly say about the Bills, they shouldn't overreact to it. They the reason they lost this game was they couldn't get the run game going. They were going up against the number one defense against the run. It was always going to be tough, and by taking that away, it meant that you're taking away a really important part of this offense, because they do want to run the ball. You know, that's their first option. It is James Cook. It is Josh Allen using his legs. So it's like, if you take that away, it does become a lot harder, because all of a sudden you're throwing to Shakir and you're throwing to Keon Coleman, and that is a bit more of an issue. So I think because of that, that's probably why you saw the result that you saw last night. But yeah, I mean, they're still going to be a good team. They're still 3-1. As you said, them next 3 games they've got, they're not necessarily the hardest. You could argue that going up against the Jets is probably the hardest defense, but they're going to be coming back from London, so they're going to have that travel side of it as well. So it might not be quite as bad for them, and they'll probably carry on. I think it's just they went up against a very strong rush defense, and it took out most of their game plan.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that with the run game with the Bills, because that's kind of, couldn't get my words out when I was saying about silly play calling, was that I know you're down the game, but instead of trying a trick play like that, you could maybe go screen to James Cook or try and have a run play. It just felt like a typical, well, we know we can usually blow most teams out of the water. We're going to be stubborn and we're just going to try and catch you off guard. But yeah, I'm sure for Buffalo, it's more just can McDermott and the rest of the team learn from it. Because I think the question mark on both of these teams is, as we've all said multiple times, we know they're capable of making a Super Bowl, but when it comes to the playoffs, something goes wrong. Either the Bills overthink it or Lamar doesn't turn up and then the Chiefs make it. So, yeah, we'll see. But I feel like I should go through my stats, but we haven't really... I'm looking at Adam's face. The stats of the week. Are you not ready?
Ready.
The big segment. Right, what are we agreeing that you want to guess the only? I'm going to give you 3, and you're going to guess the only one that's incorrect.
The one that's incorrect. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Adam's got his pen and paper.
Yeah, because I won't remember it. So.
You could do, because a couple of these. I'm
going to have to start doing this as well, because I just go off of what I can remember.
A couple of these I've had to nick from. Yeah, they've tried to make them not as wordy. So number 1 is Jaden Daniels has an 82.1% completion percentage this season, which surpassed Tom Brady's from 2007. I won't bore you with the numbers. For highest completion percentage, minimum 75 attempts by a player in his team's first 4 games of a season starting a career. So what I'm you know what I'm essentially saying, but it was quite long-winded. Yeah. The next one is, this was the second time that the Bills lost a game by more than 6 points since 2021. So that one's nice and simple. And then the other one is, this was the 3rd time in NFL history that 3 rookie quarterbacks earned wins in the same week before week 5 of a season. And that joins 2 other seasons. There was week 2 of the 2012 season. To anyone listening who wants to know, Andrew Luck, Ryan Tannehill, and Russell Wilson won as rookies. And then there was week 3 of the 2016 season, which was Jacoby Brissett, Dak Prescott, and Carson Wentz. So obviously this week we had, I've gone blank. We had obviously Caleb Williams beating the Rams. We had Jaden Daniels beating the Commanders. And who's the other rookie quarterback? I don't know why I've gone blank.
Well, you don't want to tell us, because if you tell us, then we'll know the answer, won't we?
No, but it doesn't matter. That's not right to whether I made it up or not.
Caleb won, Jaden won, Bo Nix won.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
So we know that's right then.
No, but I could be lying.
Could still be lying, to be fair.
But we've just worked out the 3 that won.
Yeah, but Fred knows what I mean.
I know what you mean. I think because the other 2 were so wordy that number 2, the Bills one, correct one. The Daniels one, I'm pretty sure is correct. I'm sure I saw. I listened to something today where they were saying about how insane his completion rate is and how he's like, he's just insane at how well he's doing throwing the ball. And then I know that you've had like 0 time today, so I think you made up number 2 because you just went, I think Adam would agree on that as well.
Adam, what do you think, Adam?
The Bills one is incorrect.
Fuck. They almost got a swear word out of me, which doesn't usually happen. I'm usually good with that. Yeah, you're right, Fred. Yeah.
So this was the first we were correct. Actually, this
is even more impressive. Get ready. It was the first time the Bills lost a game by more than 6 points since 2021.
That's pretty impressive. To be fair.
Not the second. So I just changed. But yeah, that really shocked me. And I think it's
staying games. Josh Allen can stay in games, but then again, some of them are the other way around. I mean, you think about like the Cardinals game with the Hail Murray and stuff like that.
I think it's more interesting in that. Look, I'm not digging any of the stats guys out. I love a stat, but the other two are so wordy and very US sports type, aren't they? To pick them ones out. Whereas that Bills one, I think for them to have this to be the first time in 3 years is pretty crazy. So
I bet Chicago Bears wish that Caleb Williams looked like Jane Daniels at the minute, because Jane Daniels.
Is this a plug for tomorrow's show?
I mean, it could well be. I mean, but like our big thing amongst most of us on this part, well, it's a big Adam and Andrew thing, is hating rookie quarterbacks with defensive head coaches. But
I already text Adam about this all the time. These two
Washington have been so smart with that. So smart.
Because they've got Cliff Kingsbury, but these two don't think about that.
Yeah, bringing in Cliff Kingsbury seems like a stroke of genius now. In fact, there was someone on the same podcast I was listening to today was going on about how I think the Cliff and the Cardinals situation just wasn't right for them both, and that it was just too loose and they gave Murray a little bit too much power, and maybe because it was Cliff's first head coach position in the NFL, maybe he needed to get his training wheels on a little bit, and
he also had to go to Thailand or wherever it was for his little retreat.
I mean, that might be where he got his training wheels fitted.
He might have got a new playbook from there.
Indeed.
I mean, it's pretty much the same playbook as what Kyler Murray had, isn't it? Really? I mean, there's not a lot of difference in it.
Yeah, but he's got maybe he's got a quarterback that actually watches film.
Yeah, and doesn't. Yeah,
and also it's not having the defensive head coach that is why Caleb Williams is struggling.
Oh no, I know, but
it's the O-line.
You hate that though.
Yeah,
not for a rookie quarterback, for any quarterback.
Oh, well, fair.
Adam and Andrew hate it, but I think if you get your staff, it just goes to show if you get your staff right.
No, it doesn't, because if you get it right and your offense, you have a good offense, your OC will be picked as a head coach at another team, and then you have to start again. So it's stupid.
But I do no. But come on, in before we move on, in Washington's one, it's not. It's smart, like Fred said, in that because when someone fails as a head coaching job, Cliff Kingsbury next offseason is not going to be suddenly. His name might be linked, but everyone will still sort of remember what happened in Arizona. So it's good that you give someone a chance to redeem themselves.
But Arizona's been a disaster for years. Yeah. They're just going to come out and go, it was a disaster for him when he was there. People they become desperate, don't they? They'll pick anything and they'll look at that offense and they'll go, wow, that offense is doing well. We want that. Oh, we'll take the OC. And then you've lost your connection with your quarterback.
Adam and Andrew are ringing these guys up in their head offices and going, get your offensive minds in.
Yeah.
Well, there's only 4 games that I've missed before we go on to the Monday Night Football preview. So the Falcons beat the Saints 26-24. I know I mentioned the Bengals and the Jets, so I think it's only the Chargers-Chiefs. Obviously, we didn't mention that the Chiefs won that really, really exciting 17-10 game. Yeah. And also, sorry, I can't believe Mahomes injured Rashee Rice, Adam. That's all your betting money gone.
I don't know if Mahomes injured him on purpose.
Sorry. Let's not put that out into the world.
I'm
winning. I'm going to injure my best receiver. Make it harder.
What happened? I haven't seen the highlights yet.
Oh! Should we do play by play, Adam? So he tried to force the ball to Travis Kelce because the media just wants to cuddle him up with in Cotton Wall. Throws a pick. Rashee Rice, I can't remember who intercepted it, but managed to force a fumble. Great play, but then as he's rolling, he's fallen into Mahomes and he's done his ACL. I know.
Looks to be Rice.
Even on Madden, it wouldn't happen.
It couldn't happen to a nicer guy, some may say.
I know. But it's fine. They made up for it because they've got another nice guy, Kareem Hunt's come back, so it's all good. And then we'll move on to Monday Night Football. 2 games tonight. We have let's start with my most exciting one, the Titans taking on the Dolphins. 2 teams that I'm sure we would. This is why I know Andrew said anything recently. I don't like the double headers. Well, this is why they do the double headers, because no one actually really wants to watch this unless you're a fan of either team. It's going to be interesting. I think. There's obviously quite a few injuries, but even Miami, I've gone blank. I read earlier on the breaking news, running backs out for tonight.
Mostert's out, I think.
Yeah, and we know they like to obviously. I know there's Achan. They've got pretty much so many running backs, but yeah, I guess just as open to both of you. Where do you guys? Well, this is a bigger game for Miami, right? Because I still feel like when you have got Mike McDaniel, when you got an offensive mind. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs, but if Andrew's ears will be burning when he listens back to this because he wants him fired. But Miami do have star players, whereas we know the Titans are in a rebuild. So it's a bigger game for the Dolphins, surely.
Are you saying it's a bigger game because it's already over for the Titans? Is that where you're going with this?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a bit harsh. I mean, they're trying.
They've got to win one game. You said that yourself, Sky.
Yeah.
Do you know what makes that Detroit Lions team that didn't win a game is probably not the worst team ever, but it just didn't win a game. Whereas like the Titans are awful.
Yeah,
they're just not doing anything well
defensively. I feel like that was the thing we picked. Was it on week 1 or 2? We were like, they didn't look too bad defensively, which is not wrong, but it's not great, is it? And I don't know.
I think Miami will look better with Tyler Huntley as the quarterback. I think we saw, didn't we, when he was at the Ravens? I think that he will be able to do a lot more than him. Yeah. I think it brings Waddle into it a lot more. I think it brings Tyreek into it a lot more compared to what they had with Skylar Thompson. So I think their offense will be not amazing, but I think it will be all right. I think the defense has been pretty okay for Miami. Yeah. Normally their defense isn't great, so they've actually been all right. And as you say, Tennessee just not really. I think you've got to just keep going with Will Levis and just see what you've got with him over a bit of time. But I think that they're probably going to have a pretty high draft pick next year, to be honest, because they're not great. They're an okay defense. Again, they're both defenses are pretty much the same. They're both okay defenses, but yeah, I think that the star players are going to be on the Miami side, and that'll be enough.
Fred, you saw. I've got to start saying call everyone our mates. He's not your mate because he played for the Ravens. But Tyler Huntley, we spoke last week about. I think there was a stat I pulled out with Lamar, and you were like, "Well, it makes sense because obviously Lamar's been injured a couple of times." He's really competent. They got a couple of wins under him. He wasn't one of those guys who just come in as a backup and let the team down. He's only 26 years old. I feel like this is an exciting opportunity for him to walk into because there are playmakers on that Miami team.
I mean, he's 3-6 in his 4-year career.
Yeah,
he started 9 games in 4 years. That is. I mean, 1,957 yards, 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, but he's been sacked 29 times, which doesn't say that he had bad lines. It shows that he is very like Lamar in that sense of running. Like, it'll be really interesting if Miami change up their game plan with him for more quarterback running, because they've not ran the ball that great this year so far. I mean, they're doing okay, but like Etienne's decent. I mean, he's not a top 5 running back. I believe that was someone within our group that said he was a top 5 running back, I think, at one point.
Who's got them on their fantasy team?
I feel like didn't Gareth say that at one point? That Devin Etienne's a top 5 running back? Have I just
Possibly.
Possibly.
He's probably a Liverpool fan then, surely, Etienne.
He definitely never said Josh Jacobs is. But they've not run the ball that great. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But there is a lot of stars on this team, and the stars will need to really step up in this game, I think. Like, it will be a little bit of a, if they lose this Titans team, suddenly a lot of fingers start getting pointed I think even though the quarterback situation obviously isn't exactly ideal for them, suddenly, if Tyreek Hill goes missing in this game, suddenly they're going to be saying the things are going to be said, aren't they? Like I know, Huntley he can throw the ball. He's pretty all right at that. Obviously, he's way better with his feet. But yeah, it's got big implications for the Dolphins and not much implications for the Titans. It feels like, in a way, like this feels like a bit of a must-win game for the Dolphins for me, to be honest. Like if
I agree.
they lose another one, it's suddenly, I don't know. Like I think you can only go so far with like we haven't got our starting quarterback, and like I don't know because people are still so split on Tua, aren't they? People are still so split on whether Tua is that good or not. Like, so that's where it becomes a problem. If you had Joe Burrow, for example, you go, well, if Joe Burrow plays this game, we're definitely going to be in this game. Whereas with Tua, people are still like, well, maybe we wouldn't win this game. I don't know. Like, Dolphins are a really weird team for me at the minute. I'm not sure where they're quite at. I feel like everyone is talking about them, and I'm not really sure if anyone's got sort of like the final answer for what they are yet. So yeah. I mean, the Titans they feel like they're really missing the safety net of Derrick Henry, don't they? It feels like they're missing that safety net of him, and like Tony Pollard is just not there. Tony Pollard is not a RB1. Like, it's going to be hard for people to hear, maybe, but like he's a good running back. He's good at fantasy running back, but he's always been a thunder and lightning situation with him, and I don't think he's doing well just being the guy.
Adam, who's winning? I feel like I don't want to send everyone who's listening asleep. We're talking about this game for too long.
I think Miami will win it 21-14, something like that. I think that Huntley is capable enough to get a few touchdowns for him. I think that Levis will probably throw a couple of picks, and that will help. So yeah, I don't think that Miami are necessarily going to have to do it all by themselves in order to win this one. But yeah, I'm not expecting. It's not one to stay up for. Let's put it that way.
No, it's not. Fred, you got the Dolphins?
Yeah, 17-9.
I've got 23-10, so yeah, don't stay up. But I was last week, whenever it was, I told Jags fans, don't stay up. Was right about that. Save them 3 hours sleep. If you're a Titans fan, don't stay up.
If you're a Lions fan, get all of the caffeine you can in you. I am.
That's why I got that one out of the way, so that we can hype this game up.
For a barnstormer, I am hoping to wake up to a big game from these two. I'm well excited for this game, actually.
I honestly, so am I. I feel like, and I know it's a game where people say, "Oh, you might expect it to be a shootout, and it might not be." I just think there's too many offensive weapons on both sides. Obviously, Kenneth Walker's back as well for the Seahawks. We saw how well Charbonnet stepped in. Do you know what? I'm just going to set off the bat, guys. I know I've said this off air. When we've done this, each week, one of us has got close to changing. Like we all spoke about the Commanders. None of us did it. We all spoke about, I can't remember what it was week one, but the Falcons, in the Eagles game, I was so close to changing to Atlanta. Seattle has a chance, right? We both could just say no. Oh no, you're both nodding. Come on.
The big thing for them, and actually both sides of the ball is a problem. Both teams is a problem. Is that Seattle are going to be out without Boye Mafe, and he has been so good to start the year. I mean, what their injury list now is Boye Mafe, Byron Murphy, and Chane Nwosu and Len Williams. Like, that's 4 really key pieces for their defense, which is a bit of a shame. But then on the other side of the Lions, now say they're going to be out Brian Branch, who's arguably their best secondary. Well, is their best secondary player in my opinion. So yeah, it's sort of like Clash of the Titans. It's sort of a bit of a. It'd been great if it was like the Boye Mafe v. Aiden Hutchinson game day sort of thing.
It feels like an early playoff game, though.
It does.
I imagine these two teams playing. Yeah. I think. Well, glad you said Aiden Hutchinson, because I was going to ask Adam. He's already got 6.5 sacks. Clearly he's going to get pressure to Geno Smith. Stating the obvious here, but that's who they need to neutralize, right? If they want to have a chance. And do you think that the 1-2 punch of Walker and Charbonnet you mentioned before, have they got enough to sort of get things going against the Lions defense to maybe limit Hutchinson by getting some play action involved, getting some screens involved. Because I think if the run doesn't work and they're forced to passing it, then that's sort of when Hutchinson licks his lips and knows he can just get at O-lines.
Yeah, I think Hutchinson will probably do well, as he does in every game now. It just feels like he's kind of
ridiculous.
It feels like he has taken that step up already this season, and it is just a constant threat all the time to the opposition quarterback. So yeah, I think he'll do really well. I hear what Fred is saying about the guys on the Seahawks defense that are out injured. That is a big worry, obviously, but they do have a little bit of a next man up mentality. I think you've got this sort of, this now a bit of a Ravens defense style that Mike McDonald is there. So yeah, it does feel like that they're still going to be decent on the defense. Obviously a massive loss for the Lions, and statistically it shows, is a huge loss, is Frank Ragnow.
Yeah.
Not playing. That's going to be a massive problem for them. And whenever he's out, the win percentage drops quite dramatically. So I think that's going to be a big problem. I think people are hoping for a shootout. I think that's what we would like to see. I don't think we're necessarily going to get one. I think it's going to be a bit lower than what everyone is hoping it's going to be, because you have got a few of these guys out, and I just think that the defenses are gonna do well in this game.
Partially torn pec for Ragnow, and do you remember? I remember me and Andrew having a conversation when he was even thinking about retiring, wasn't he? There was that rumor
last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know they're saying it's not gonna set him back. He's one of the toughest guys, and you have to be to play on the O-line, but it's going to be a big miss. I was going to ask, well, obviously it's for both of you, but just when Adam mentioned the Seahawks defense, do you think there's a little bit that I agree that Mike McDonald's come in and we know what he did in Baltimore, but do you think they're a little bit overhyped at this part of the season, considering they went against Bo Nix, Jacoby Brissett, and then Skylar Thompson came in, and now they're going up against the Lions.
This is their real test. This is their first real test. I don't mean anyone, and this would be a sort of litmus test for them. They've played 3 teams who are weaker teams, and they're coming up a team that went to the NFC Championship last year. This is a good team. The Lions are a good team. They know what they're about, and at the minute they're even after the weekend, they're on the stats now. They're a top 15 rushing team, so that's probably only going to even go up tonight. The Lions are, so the Seattle team has got to deal with that. But you're right. Adam's right about the McDonald sort of mentality of the next man up thing. That's going to be pretty cool to see. I mean, I love watching the Lions so much. They're just so much fun. I really like Amon-Ra St. Brown as well. I really like Sam Laporta. I really love this Jahmyr Gibbs to David Montgomery duo. It's just a really fun. It's a really, really fun offense to watch. Really fun. Jameson Williams is really good as well. And I really like their defense. Aiden Hutchinson at the minute, he's top 3 edge rusher in the league. You've got at the minute, I think he's got to be in that conversation. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like every time we've predicted them in that game so far, how they're going to go, we've got it wrong every time. Is that true? I've not really kept track, but I feel like it's true.
We all picked the Eagles, even though I was, to be fair, in that one, I was going Falcons has a chance, but we did all say no. And then last week, we all spoke about the Commanders having a chance, but none of us had it in us to go for them. But then we all woke up the next day and sort of went, oh, we probably should have seen that coming.
And wasn't it a big scoring game? Didn't we have it as a low scoring game? And it was quite a big scoring game in the end. I can't remember now off the top of my head.
I don't know. MVP Jaden Daniels, though. Let's just get that one out.
No, MVP Sam. In fact, Sam Darnold, comeback player of the year, surely now.
Yeah, I should have put him instead of Aaron Rodgers, but I don't know.
He can't win it.
Right.
Who, comeback player?
You have to be injured.
I thought it was because Baker Mayfield got it.
No, now. You have to come back from an injury.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You can't do something naughty and then come back and...
You can't come back from being crap. You have to come back from being injured. That's how it works.
Wow, that has rivaled Tom Brady's insult to Baker. Baker's getting all the heat.
No, I was talking about Sam Darnold, but you know what I mean.
I thought you were saying about Baker Mayfield because
Well,
he
I'll
won
throw it
last
at
year,
Baker's way as well if you like.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't come back from being crap. You can come back from an injury. That's how it works.
He was getting all the love, wasn't he, at Tampa Bay, Brady, this weekend? All the players came out to see him and say hello, and yeah, they all remember.
Pressure was not winning a Super Bowl. What is it? If want to have fun, I'll take my kids to Disney World. But I feel like none of us know where we want to go to pick this. If it helps, are you ready? I've got a stat, which I wanted to keep for next week, but I did see this earlier, so I've got to mention this. Seattle have won the past 6 meetings. The last time the Lions beat the Seahawks was 2012, and it only mentioned that because Dan Campbell even acknowledged this in the press conference. He said, I'd be lying, though, if I told you that I don't know we've lost to them 3 years in a row. He said, I'm tired of it. You get tired of that after one loss, much less 3. So that when I read that, I was kind of like, as much as I do kind of feel like Seattle has a chance, I am not going to shift.
You're not going to shift from Seattle. I think this Lions team is completely different, isn't it? It's completely different from all them other past teams, even the ones of recent with Dan Campbell. This team is totally different. Not totally different. It's more
kind of a juggernaut though, in a way. I know that might be overhype in them, but they're legit.
I'm gonna go. See, I was gonna go like 35-29, but I think that's a bit too high. I think it's more like 27-24.
Oh, I've gone 27-20 Lions. So I know Adam knows the over and under. I can see it in his eyes. I'm not going to start singing Brian Adams to you. I could see it in your eyes.
Thank God for that.
The over under for this.
But the problem in Adam's life is that everything's an over or under. So everything's an over under.
Yeah. Everything is numbers.
What is it?
The over under is 47.
Look, and I've gone 27-20.
Yeah. I like 24-21 to the Lions. I think that they've just got enough to get themselves over the line in this one, and it's like I said, I don't think it's going to be a shootout, but I think you're still going to get points. But I think that it's I think that you're going to see a bit more defensive play than what I think everyone's thinking.
Yeah, so I'm guessing you both picked them on the pool, and so did I. So there we go. We've all stuck with the Lions.
Oh, I might not have done.
So Seahawks for the win because we all went Lions.
or Titans.
Or Titans, of course.
Maybe not. I did go Titans on the pool because I maintained the mentality, like you said, they've got to win a game at some point. And I thought,
see, we can clip this up now when the Tennessee wins.
I just
thought, such a glowing reference for the Titans. I went with them because I thought they had to win at least one.
But that's what it'll be now. Each week for me, I'll pick the Titans no matter because they'll win one. Like
Fred, if you could add the teams up at the end. Oh, Fred had the Titans going 13-3. You could just keep picking them.
Got to win one.
Yeah. Oh well, those are the predictions. Oh, that's a good place to stop. But obviously, Fred, we've got the Tuesday show tomorrow. I feel like
it is a Tuesday, so that would be on. That would be right. Well done.
Don't, Adam. I made it through this much. Don't make me collapse here. And then obviously we'll have other content as well coming throughout the week. We've got the London games coming up. We've got the Jets and Vikings. Fred will be at the Vikings presser. We'll have stuff going on with the Jets as well. And then we'll be full swing, won't we, for London season? So lots more to come. And make sure you stay tuned. Thank you, guys. We'll get this one in this time.